Doug, are you there?
Hi, we're here. We're just, we are one commissioner short, so we're just going to wait for a few minutes.
Okay. The photo of the panel is tiny with the other thing, so couldn't quite tell how much there. It's nice to be tiny.
Great. Yeah, we'll get started in a few minutes.
Okay, that's
Thanks.
fine. Yep.
A trip every year, go spend a night at the Broadmoor for the holidays, and it was just perfect. Yeah, we did the history tour this time. So Spencer Penrose liked to drink a lot, right?
Yeah.
So in
Lots of bottles.
drinking, so he had a glass eye, right? And so they in their case they have his flask that he always carried around with him, and then he had a glass eye that he had made special in Paris that made it look like it was bloodshot. So when he started drinking, he would take his glass eye out and put it in his bloodshot eye, so that way his eyes look even. Yeah, history could be a kick. You know what I mean?
Did you stay in, which part of the Broadmoor did you stay in, the older part or the?
So we have a room that we specifically ask for in the old building, room 708. It looks northwest out onto the lake, out onto the rest of the grounds. It's like the best view.
Well, that's good to know.
First thing we do is we get there and we change all the furniture around, so that way we can just sit there and have drinks and food, look at the view, and watch them turn on the lights. And
That's
you know.
wonderful. It's wonderful, Doug. Wow.
Yeah. It is very cool. It's a very old world type of hotel that we love. Hey, is that Dan Stewart? What's going on, man? It's not letting Tamala on. Yeah, I see her. I see her hand. She's got some connectivity issues down there at her house. Normally she can do okay. So, hey, Tamala. So I'm just gonna introduce you so you don't have to talk, and then you can just raise your hand and do all that kind of groovy stuff. Just save your voice. Did you ever hear back from that fella? From the county? No? Okay. It's no big. I mean, it'll eventually get done. So. Yeah. Hey, man. It's good to see you too. Would you go on a trip or? Oh, really? Did you fly solo or did you take Brandy with you? She went, really? Well, we're gonna have to get that beer. You can tell me all about it. Right on, man. Okay. And here we go. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 7th, 2022 regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. We are composed of volunteers that are appointed by City Council to help interpret and guide applications for building remodels and other projects that are located in the historic district. And if you have any sort of problems with our process, you can always appeal the city clerk with any concerns within a 10-day period after our hearings. I'm going to go ahead and get straight to work. I'd like to make a couple of quick announcements about the structure of our meeting this evening. We are short a commissioner, so there are 4 of us, which is enough to make a quorum. We have one commissioner that is at home this evening who is ill, but she has graciously agreed to attend this meeting so we can go ahead and move forward with our agenda items. And with that, I will ask our other commissioners to introduce themselves.
Ann Nichols.
And Joy Porter, I'd like to just say that today is Pearl Harbor Day, and my dad was at Pearl Harbor and survived. So it's a historical day for us.
Very good. And also you can see Commissioner Tamala Wright joining us from home. She's having issues with respiration in her voice, so I told her that I would speak on her behalf. And I am the chair, Douglas Edmondson, and we are down Vice Chair Susan Presti, who is on vacation, and she is excused. With that, I will move to have a review of our minutes from our November 2nd meeting. Does anybody have any comments or additions to the minutes from that meeting?
I do not. I would move approval as presented.
And I would second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Porter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. We have approved our minutes from the November 2nd regular meeting. Do we have any unfinished business that we need to hear this evening? Staff? Okay, thank you very much. Now we have a new business item. This is item MCAC 2214, material change of appearance, certification, rehabilitation of a single family residence at 515 High Street. Do we have any commissioners that have ex parte communication or any sort of vested interest in this that need to recuse themselves?
No.
No.
Okay, very good. Well, Hannah, can we go ahead and hear the package for this MCAC, please?
So that's actually going to be me, Chelsea Stromberg, for the record.
Chelsea, thanks.
Thank you. As you introduced, this is MCAC 2214 for 515 High Street. The applicant is requesting a material change of appearance certification to renovate the home. The tasks include a siding replacement, replacing wood siding with composite wood siding, 7-inch reveal and shakes in the gable ends, roof repair, replacing brown architectural shingles with architectural shingles in the shade Desert Tan, which is a brown. Porch rebuilding the 16-foot 10-inch by 7-foot 6-inch porch, which were the previous dimensions, so it's just being rebuilt. Retaining wall restoration, cleaning and tuck pointing the existing stone retaining wall. Window replacement, replacing 3 gable windows with 47-inch by 35-inch sliding 6-light vinyl windows, and replacing 7 main floor windows with 29-inch by 56-inch single hung vinyl windows. Door replacement and rebuilding of the stairs from High Street up to the structure. Again, that's just replacing the previous wooden stairs with wooden stairs that meet modern building code. This is zoned general residential and is in the Midland Historic District. In October of 2021, the rear addition, front porch, and front entry stairs were removed in order to reduce risks associated with portions of the structure that suffered deterioration due to lack of structural integrity and maintenance. So this project will repair those items. There has been an ongoing code enforcement case regarding the property, which due to its current condition has allowed trespassers and squatters to enter the structure without permission. There are broken windows and the exterior wall was removed on the rear elevation. The applicant was required to board up the residence to discourage future undesired habitation or trespassing of the property. You can see a couple photos up on the screen of the condition of the structure currently. Staff analysis shows that this does meet historic district design guidelines. Number 4.7, new or replacement roof materials shall convey a sense of scale, color, and texture similar to those used on historic structures. Roof material of an addition shall replicate the roof material of the primary structure. This proposed roof material is asphalt shingle in a medium brown shade, which is similar to what was there before. And guideline 4.19, additions to the existing contributing structure shall use materials and finishes that maintain the scale and character of the original structure. The proposed siding material are 7-inch wood lap siding with wood shake siding in the gable ends. Should the Historic Preservation Commission find it appropriate to grant the MCAC, staff does not recommend any conditions. And this concludes my presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Chelsea. We'll go ahead and discuss this with our commissioners. Do you have any questions for staff at all?
I had a question, Doug, I had a question about
Certainly.
about the porch rebuild. Is that going to be similar to the other porches in the area too, with the columns and the covered roof? Is that something we can ask the applicant?
Yes, we can ask the applicant. She did provide a rendering of what the porch would, or what the building would look like, and it lacked those details, so we may need to ask the applicant.
Okay. And then go ahead, Doug.
I also believe, Joy, that if you look in the package, there are the renderings. And if memory serves me correctly, they weren't much more than 4x4 posts that were there in the first place.
Okay. Yeah, I see the renderings. Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Okay, any further questions for staff? Fantastic. Well, we'll go ahead and have the applicant come up. Please state your name and your current address. Is it a little green light on? There you go.
My name's Madison Brinton. My current address is 2626 West Pikes Peak Avenue in Colorado Springs.
Very good. Very good. Madison, is there anything you'd like to add to staff's presentation or anything you'd like for us to know that with your project?
I think overall, we're just trying to replace anything that was removed due to unsafe conditions with, something that mimics almost exactly what was there before, very much like kind to what was there previously.
Fantastic. Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Porter.
On the windows, will they be painted, or what will be the color of how it blends into the home?
Yeah, I found a window that actually it's a vinyl window, but it's in the shade almond. So it really does look pretty similar to the wood that's already existing.
Okay.
And it has great grids that are currently there as well.
Okay, it sounds good. Thanks.
Commissioner Wright, any question? No, big no? Yes. You are muted. Oh, that's the okay sign? I got the okie dokie from you? Okay. All right, fantastic. Well, I have no questions for the applicant at all. Miss Brinton, go ahead and just stay put. I'm going to go ahead and reach out now to the open hearing aspect of this MCAC and see if there's anyone in favor or not in favor of this, either in attendance personally or via Zoom. I have Mr. Stewart. Would you like to approach and say a few words? And of course, your name and current address.
Good evening. I'm Dan Stewart, 601 Southside Road, Manitou Springs. I have owned the property at 101 Deer Path, which is immediately west of this property, for the last 40 years. And I am delighted that Madison has this property and is proposing what she's proposing. I'm just excited when I saw a material change of appearance. That property has needed a material change of appearance for a very long time. So I'm just glad that she's going to be part of the community, and thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Dan. We appreciate your support. I'm sure Ms. Britton does too. Very good. Do we have anyone via Zoom or in attendance electronically that has any comment or a hand up, anything of that nature?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Chelsea. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing aspect of this. I think we could probably ask for a quick check amongst commissioners, but I don't think there's anything anybody else has to add, do we?
I don't have anything.
No, and I will go ahead and just support Mr. Stewart in his comments. I've been looking at this building all my life, known a lot of people that have lived there over the years, and particularly in the last few years, watched it become, a deteriorating derelict building. And I am just absolutely delighted that you are doing this also. And this is just the epitome of the spirit of the Historic Preservation Commission and what we like to see. And this is really embraces what Manitou and its history is all about. Thank you very much for doing this. Well, at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion on MCAC 2214 to be accepted as penned by staff. Do I have a motion?
Sure, I would make a motion to approve MCAC 2214 as suggested by or as indicated by staff without conditions.
Very good. Do I have a second?
I would second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we're really, really happy you're doing this. I can't
Yeah.
tell you enough. Very
Yeah,
good.
I'm
Great job. Go get
excited
it.
to move forward.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll need it.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to other business, section 5. Chelsea, Hannah, do we have anything on our historic resource survey?
Thank you, Chair Edmondson. I just wanted to make a couple of comments and maybe have a little bit of discussion on a proposed direction for this project. We are working on a grant request to the State Historic Fund, or is that technically what it is? It's a CLG grant from History Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that CLG grant would allow us to tackle one of the high priority areas or a portion of, depending on how much we get, that's outlined in our historic resource survey plan. And so I know I had kind of thrown it out at a previous meeting, but I didn't really have a map. And then the map I sent you was all pixelated. So I thought we could just talk about it again real quick.
okay.
The historic resource survey plan, and I'll pull it up on the screen here, outlines a number of what's considered high priority areas. And they're the areas on this map that are, oh, and it's not super visible, which is great, that are outlined in yellow. And that is the Minnehaha / Pilot Knob subdistrict. This would be a reconnaissance and intensive level survey. Also on the high priority list is the Midland subdistrict. That's also a reconnaissance and intensive level survey. Additionally, we have the Villas subdistrict. This is just an intensive level survey, and the log cabin subdistrict. That's also a reconnaissance and intensive level survey. Those are the 4 high priorities. Additionally, what's listed is the Crystal Valley Cemetery Subdistrict Preservation Plan. While that is owned by the city, so I don't personally feel like that maybe should be the first thing that we tackle, but maybe something we can tackle in-house at a later date. But for this CLG grant, I personally felt one of these 4 could be a great option. And so we do have a request for information posted currently, and that RFI would just allow us to better understand, generally speaking, how much one of these projects would cost. And then we can better understand if we can tackle one as a whole, if we can tackle a portion of one, and so on and so forth. So the RFI, the intent is really just to better understand what a consultant can provide us within a certain budget. And from there, we would post a request for proposals. And that's when we get very specific information on how a consultant would tackle an identified area that we as staff in partnership with the Historic Preservation Commission wanted to tackle first. So the request for proposal would be the item that we would award or make a decision to award to a specific consultant for a specific area. So the RFI that's posted now is just to gain some base level knowledge. So what I was hoping to do tonight, and sorry, I should also say the CLG grant is due in January and would be awarded later in 2023, but in the first quarter, I think.
Yeah, I think it is a pretty quick turnaround on that grant, but it's due, January 17th.
That's right.
And so we would have a decent idea, or we would have an idea pretty early in 2023 if we had awards, any type of funding awarded to us and if we could tackle the project. What's nice about a CLG grant is that there is no match requirement. So we could do it purely with their money and not have to rely on general fund to be allocated to tackle a portion of this. There are other funding opportunities that will need to weigh against other priorities for the city that would require a grant match, but we'll dive into that as those kind of become available. So I guess the goal of tonight was if the commissioners had a strong preference for one area over another, or if you would prefer to wait until our RFIs came in and we could talk about those and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to see what the RFIs produce. I mean, they're clearly very different in scale, and I suspect the villas is more contained, and we already have a lot of information on the log cabin district because of what FHU did.
Yes.
So I think the RFIs will be helpful. When are those due in?
So those would be due in, actually, I think I have them due as this upcoming Friday. So 2 days from now.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did get, so we did have a deadline for questions and we did get a good number of people give us questions. So I would expect 3 or 4 firms to submit it for an RFI.
Good.
Very good. Commissioner Porter, any feelings?
You know, I want them all surveyed, but I understand that we just can't. You know, there's a lot of information, but not intensive information. I know that the log cabins were done earlier, but I wonder how intensive, since it's going to be developed and how more is going to be built there in the open land. And I worry that our guidelines aren't strong enough, but if people feel they are, I'm okay with that. The villas are very self-contained. There's the Willow Hotel is also in them. There's 158 houses in Midland. So I would sort of go with the commission if someone has a real strong feelings. I think Ann's approach is really good to find out what we're looking and then make a choice based on that kind of knowledge of the costs. That's all I have.
Tamela, do you have any feelings?
The section, it's not even in one of the reconnaissance areas. It's clear at the west end of Manitou. There's a lot of construction about to happen. And it's not even, it's going to impact that section that's like an orange. What is the name of that one? See, and it wasn't in the reconnaissance, but maybe it should have for what might be going on there.
Are you talking about across from the old bottling works, that area?
Yeah.
Yeah. He, you know, the Walton family, the owners of that, I believe, have pre-approval, and there's been some vetting as to what's going to be taking place there. But unless something goes up or they start pulling MCACs, I don't even think that's part of our purview at this time. And I do validate your concern. We all can hope that, you know, whatever goes in there will be done tastefully and historically sensitive with some sort of taste.
Mm-hmm.
I have to concur with Commissioner Nichols about the log cabin historic district with what's gone on with McLaughlin Lodge and a lot of the current activity. It seems to be been fairly well vetted and it been held in high profile recently. Obviously, I have a lot of personal knowledge on the history of the area. And I think our guidelines currently dealing with the log cabin district are robust enough to be able to hear when the day comes that they start in with new construction on the lots that are going to be offered in the McLaughlin property. The now they call the Crystal. What are they calling that now? They have a different name for it.
Yeah, they do.
Cabins, Crystal Park Cabins or something like that. anyways,
Cabins of Manitou.
yeah,
something.
Cabins in the Manitou LLC.
Yeah.
So when we start hearing those MCACs on new construction, I mean, I think we can easily reference, some of our past, MCACs that have just occurred in the last year, 18 months
Mhm.
as, a watermark to deal with those. The villas over on El Paso would maybe a good starting point. It's kind of, as they say, low hanging fruit. They're well-established properties. They've been there for a long time. I don't see much new development happening in that area. There's a lot of geographical restrictions to that, and I don't see anybody building anything in there anytime soon. And then I really think the Midland block is huge. There's a lot of properties there, and if there's going to be any activity, particularly when it comes to sales, rehabilitation, appearance changes, so on and so forth, it's going to be in that area.
Right, right. And I think part of what we get out of these surveys is because we don't have it on a lot of structures now, is we get a finding about whether they're contributing or not contributing.
Exactly.
And because we have a lot, I suspect, that are now under our non-designated or undesignated category. So I think either Minnehaha or Midland fall into the circumstance where it would be good to know sooner rather than later what the characteristic of the structures are, because when somebody comes in front of us, as they eventually will, and want to do something, if it's undesignated, then, as you know, the code has a sort of a circuitous method for coming up with how we proceed. Whereas if we have a survey that says this is contributing or this is clearly not, it makes that process a lot cleaner. So I would think those two, although I do want to see the results of the RFI, I think those two ought to be fairly high priority.
I agree. It's such a mixed use, quote unquote, between what's owner occupied and what are rental properties. And, rental properties seem to be almost like the old saying, preservation by neglect. Landlords don't want to do much to those properties. They want to kind of keep them simple. So we have these old cottages that just haven't changed much over the last 100 years, 120 years. And as these properties are bought up and owner occupied, we're going to be seeing more MCACs because people wanting to make improvements to that. So I agree. I think the Minnehaha / Midland, we'll see what the RFI says.
Yes.
To work from that, but thank you staff for your work on this.
Can I?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Do you mind if I interject real quick? Just so everyone is aware that the CLG grant that we are targeting for this has a $25,000 maximum. So that could also be a limiting factor in how many properties we're able to survey. The RFI will tell us more, but just so that's also in the back of everyone's mind.
Well, that's something really good to know, because then I would say, if we've got a $25,000 limit, then something that's sort of for, again, lack of better references, easy kill, would be the villas, because they are so well-established properties, and they have such a well-known rich pedigree. I think it would be easier to deal with those and have that as an example of what this kind of survey can do for our community. And then we would probably be able to go after a budget line item, and sell that easier to council as
Right.
where we may be in a year.
Don't we have money in our budget survey?
So there was money in the 2022 budget. However, the grant didn't get applied for prior to us starting. So that didn't get carried forward into 2023. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't have an opportunity in upcoming budgets. So I think the potential strategy of having the villas be a kind of a proof of concept wouldn't be such a, it would kind of show what we're hoping to go for.
Right.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
we could tackle maybe a 6-figure project.
Yeah. And those are well-established properties with known history. That wouldn't be too heavy of a project. I mean, it's not going house by house down Midland. You never know when some of those things were built. And
Right. I think the kind of flip side of that is you're not going to get the information. They're probably not the number of properties in the villas that are unknown, whether they're contributing or not
Right.
contributing. So you're not going to gain that advantage as much in the villas as you would in the Midland or the
Yeah,
Minnehaha. But I think we see we'll get a sense from the RFIs if these are $100,000 projects or 50 or whatever. Are you asking them to look at these four, or what are you asking?
Yeah, we left the RFI pretty broad. And so we said that we are interested in doing in tackling one of these four high priority areas. So please give us some details on each of these districts and how you would tackle them, how much you would expect them to cost according to the parameters outlined in this plan. So
Right.
that is part of what we were hoping to get out of the RFI is
yeah.
I'm not super experienced in understanding how much a project like this would cost. So this would give us a really good basis to better understand our needs moving forward. The other thing we could also think about, and again, this will maybe come out of an RFI, is if there's a block within Minnehaha or Midland subdistrict that's really in danger, we can tackle just that one block too.
Right.
We could split them up if they're, like you say, areas that there's a lot of interest in, or they're getting ready to be a lot of properties sold. That might be an area you'd want to do if we don't already know
Right.
whether
And
they're contributing. or
in
not.
the study that was conducted when they did McLaughlin Lodge, and then remember there was, when they came in and they identified the 7 districts and they kind of started shooting some numbers at us, and they were, they started in those, $25,000-$30,000 range, moving up to 100,000 or more because of the intensity of areas like Minnehaha, Midland, and the Ruxton cottages. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of buildings in there.
Right.
And I mean, some of those were just, grandpa got a hold of some extra lumber and some nails and built a cottage that, and I mean, back in turn of the century kind of stuff. And so anyhow, but yeah, I would like to see that. I mean, those are going to be some big projects when they tackle those particular neighborhoods. That's for sure.
Right.
So,
my takeaway is that we'll share the results of the RFI because it might inform our decision moving forward. But depending on what that result is, the priority of the commission right now is Minnehaha and Midland, but that could change based on information that we get.
very good.
Yes.
And then when you go out for the RFP, is it just going to be on this district we select, right?
That's a great question. So I think that there's room to mold an RFP based on the information we get from the RFI. But let's say that we decide to tackle a block of Midland, just for example's sake, then I would want the RFP to be very specific to just that project.
Yeah.
So that we could get really a solid scope of work back. And then we have a very solid understanding of what will be completed for $25,000. Yeah, that's what I would picture.
Yeah, I think that's the right approach. Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, then let's just look at the 2023 Saving Places Conference.
Right. That's already coming up. Isn't that crazy? Okay. So Saving Places 2023. That's in February, February 8th through the 10th. It's in Boulder this year. In the budget, we do have funding to send, I believe, 2 commissioners to this conference if anyone is interested in going. There also is another opportunity in late August in La Junta. So they do 2 conferences a year. One, the primary conference, usually Denver or Boulder. And I think there's a third city that I'm forgetting that they host. And then there's one that they call On the Road. And that is usually smaller towns throughout the state. So there's 2 different opportunities that we could work through or have potential to go to. It sounds like there's also an online option for both of these. So let me know if you're interested in either attending in person to either one or online to either one, and we can get you registered.
All right.
If you're interested in going to Boulder, please let me know before the 9th so that I can get you the early bird rate.
The 9th of,
Sorry, the 9th of January.
oh, okay. Okay, well, I mean, in La Junta, you said the other one was?
Yeah.
I was just down there for the tarantula
I-
migration.
I was just gonna say, it should be before the tarantula migration if you're like me and prefer to avoid the southeast part of the state
Yeah.
during that.
It's like,
They're
it's like,
very- Yeah, they're pretty in pictures.
Ugh.
Thank you.
Joy, you want to go down and see tarantulas?
You know, I'm not really pushing for that, no. They're okay on the Nature Channel, but not where I can touch them.
Well, everybody be ready for a straw poll next meeting, so that way we can see who wants to go to these. Yeah, you bet. I think you know that my arm's in the air, but we'll see who's up for it, that's for sure. We're very good. Do we have any notice of council action?
I don't believe so.
Okay, were we, did they have the final budget hearing last
yes.
night?
Last night, there was the final budget hearing and it was adopted.
Okay, very good. I'm glad to hear that, with all things considered. Okay, well, unless we have any other agenda items or any other discussion, I think I'm going to go ahead and call for adjournment.
Great meeting. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, everyone, Chelsea.
Tamala, feel better, okay?
Yeah, Tamala.
And thanks for coming. Take it easy, Joy.
Okay, you too, Doug.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.